Welcome back to the Motion Gallerium. The movie takes off on a cruise ship where a hot singer performs a beautiful song and a little girl is sitting at the table playing with a puzzle and she arranges the words to spell out "I am so bored." A little while later, a ship's captain intrigues her to the dance floor. On the other hand, there's a man pulling a lever and a steel cable stretched around the deck leaps across the room at an incredible speed and splits bodies in two, killing people instantly. Amidst the chaos, stands the girl held tightly by the captain. She looks over at him and sees his head fall to the floor. The silence of the ship is interrupted by the sharp scream of the girl. Years pass, a rescue team pulls an oil barge that has a serious breach in its hull and water is overflowing through it. The captain orders the crew to detach the barge so it doesn't sink their boat. One woman suits up and goes down into the hole to fix it. Two other people follow her and manage to save the barge and bring it to shore. Later, they sit at the bar celebrating their payday. Suddenly, a man named Jack Ferriman approaches them and asks to speak with the captain in private. But the captain claims there are no secrets to his crew, so Jack tells everyone his story. He says he's a weather patrol pilot who monitors conditions in the bay, and a month ago while flying in a certain area on the sea, he spotted a ship and he circled it 3 times as he tried to make radio contact with no response. Jack then says he reported it to the Coast Guard, but because the ship is on international waters, it shouldn't be much of a problem. He had forgotten about the ship until 2 days earlier when he spotted it again, to which the crew becomes intrigued, so is the captain, who asks what Jack wants in return. Jack replies that he wants 20% of whatever they find on board. The captain then dismisses him so he could speak to his crew, and after discussing it a while, they decide to go for the ship. They agree to pay 10% to Jack and embark on the mission on their rescue boat. On the way there, the boat's captain notices the ship on the radar briefly, but it disappears again. As they proceed to sail, then suddenly, the ship appears in front of them and they run into it with their rescue boat. The crew cautiously begin to explore the ship and the puzzle game sets itself to spell "Welcome aboard." Outside, Greer tries to reach them inside with no fruition. In the process of exploring, one of the team members falls through the floor and Epps rescue him. The girl then sees a little girl in a white dress for a moment, and the girl disappears. On the brig, they discover that the fuel tanks are empty and there's an electric clocks, the kind of tech that was not around in the 60s, which means they are not the first to find the ship. The captain then suggests they go back to the boat and resume in the morning. Back on their boat, the captain suggests they secure the liner with a cable and tow it. Santos doubts if their boat can take the weight, while Greer suggests they fix the liner, but they found out that all the anchors have been cut. After the discussion, they come to an agreement that they focus on their ship's repairs. Epps thinks about the girl she saw on the ship as Jack approaches her. She tells him of the ordeal and then tells him that it could have been just her imagination. The next day, the crew inspects the ship's hull and discover a large breach, likely caused by the liner running into rocks, and they only have 3 days before the current pushes the ship into the rocky cliffs. Greer is ready to send a message as according to maritime law, when there's a find in international waters, authorities must be notified. However, the captain forbids it and the team then splits up to work on the ship. In the process of exploring the ship, Epps notices bullet holes on the wall of the ship, and hearing a strange noise she climbs outside the pool, and as she reaches the edge, a little girl appears again, causing her to fall off the ladder, and the girl vanishes immediately. Meanwhile, Murphy finds the captain's cabin and decides to check it alone, leaving Greer outside the door. On the other side of the ship, Dodge and his partner reach the cargo hold, but it's completely flooded and Dodge tries to contact Epps, but it still doesn't work. Jack gets to the pool and finds Epps at the bottom and quickly jumps in to help her. In the captain's cabin, Murphy finds an open bottle of liquor and some poured in a glass. He picks up the glass intending to take a drink, but suddenly sees the captain's reflection on the mirror. He drops the glass in fear, but when he looks again, the reflection is gone. Epps tells Jack about the bullet holes, suggesting that a mass murder might have taken place there, and as they begin to walk the pool's edge, blood begins to pour out of the bullet holes, filling the pool, but they don't see it. Greer on the other hand keeps inspecting and hears noises coming from nowhere and follows the sound. He finds himself in the ballroom where the killings happened 40 years ago. Meanwhile, Epps and Jack make their way into the cargo hold. They struggle to open a sealed door, and when they finally open it, a flood of water pours out and pushes them away, and inside the water, there are bodies pouring with the water. Judging by the condition of the bodies, they only died a month prior. They try to make contact outside to no avail and try to flee, but the doors are sealed shut, so with no other choice, they wait in the waters filled with bodies looking for another way out. In the other end, Greer finds a picture of the hot singer named Francesca. Epps and Jack finally manage to escape the water, and in one of the ship's rooms Jack sees a car he's always wanted, but Epps presses that they leave soon. Suddenly, she spots a moment and approaches a pile of sacks and pushes them to the side, only to uncover a swarm of rats, and beneath the rats, she finds bars of gold. She tries the radio again, and this time, a creepy voice calling her by her real name tells her to head to the refrigerators, and cautiously, Epps heads to the kitchen and approaches the fridge, and as she enters, the hanging sacks inside comes to life, grabbing at her. Terrified, she runs away only to realize it's Dodge and his partner pranking her. She then informs the crew about the gold, and crew open up the crates, revealing that each one of them has gold bars worth about $200 million. However, the bars have no serial numbers, suggesting they could be a hidden loot which could be the reason people died in the ship. Adding the fresh bodies to the equation creates a mystery. Greer mentions hearing a woman sing as if she was calling to her, but the others laugh at such insinuations, not taking him seriously. They then decide to take the gold and leave the ship behind. Santos is packing his tools after he's done fixing the ship when suddenly a valve on a nearby gas suddenly twists open by itself. The countdown to departure is almost complete. Meanwhile, the ghost girl appears on the liner, and seeing that the tugboat engine is about to start, she yells for them to stop, and Epps sees and hears it, but it's too late, and seconds later, the tugboat explodes and sinks. Epps jumps in the water and manages to rescue Greer while Jack rescues Munder. Back on the liner, the crew recuperates and grasp what happened. They blame Jack for the disaster, but Epps breaks the confrontation. Epps comes up with a plan to repair the liner and navigate around the islands, and hope they might be found. Epps looks into the passenger logs and finds the name of a girl she keeps seeing, named Katie. Meanwhile, Dodge and his friend discover some cans in the kitchen, and even though some passengers were poisoned, they assume it should be safe to open and eat whatever is inside. Epps ventures around looking for Katie, when suddenly all the doors in the hallway start to close themselves except for one that seemingly opens up, inviting her in. Dodge and Mander eat the beans, but suddenly notice that what they are eating is actually maggots. Epps enters the room and realizes it's Katie's cabin, and when she opens the closet, she finds a decomposed body hanging inside. Meanwhile, a shrunk Greer looks around and sees the ballroom restore itself, and all the people appear, including the bombshell, Francesca. Leaning on the captain's desk, Murphy witnesses the whiskey bottle move, and as he wakes up, he sees the ship's captain in front of him, who then pours one for Murphy and offers it to him. In the ballroom, Greer is invited by Francesca to the dance floor and gives in to her request. Epps investigates the body and finds a locket on it, and inside she finds two pictures. Suddenly, Katie approaches her from behind, asking her not to close the locket because the photos are of her parents and she hasn't seen them in a long time. Epps decides to give the locket to her, but it passes through her hand, and Epps finally believes that she's actually a ghost. Meanwhile, Murphy has a heart-to-heart with the captain, who tells him about the sinking ship, whose passengers they found and rescued. In one of the photos, he sees the crates of gold they found with the crew. The ghost explains that they were on the mysterious ship and only one crew member survived. The captain hands Murphy a photo, and as Murphy takes it, his expression changes. Francesca the hottie leads Greer further and further away from the dance hall. Epps talks to the ghost, who reveals that everyone in the ship is trapped, and once the ship has collected enough souls, it will fulfill its mission and be sent away. And before she could tell Epps where, she sees blood on the ceiling, and in fear, she tells Epps to escape and quickly disappears, leaving Epps in the cabin. After the shocking revelation, Murphy tries to find Epps so he could tell her everything, but by the pool, he sees the ghost of Santos, who aggressively tries to kill him. Greer seems to be completely captivated by Francesca, who takes off her dress and lures Greer through an open door, and instead of a room, he finds a deep ledge to which he falls into. Francesca then changes into a decaying body. Epps runs through the ship looking for Murphy, and suddenly finds him, but Murphy thinks it's Santos trying to kill him, so he attacks her, but Jack later intervenes by knocking the captain out. Believing Murphy to have lost his mind, the crew lock him up and start looking for Greer to no avail. Epps admits she sees ghosts and that one of them told her they need to escape. After a brief discussion, they decide to finally repair the ship. They dive into the hull to repair the breach and manage to fix it, and finally set up the pumps to remove the water. However, the current is too strong and they might need to adjust the course with the rudder, which might give them a chance to survive. Epps sees Katie yet again, and as she approaches her, she sees a body of a Greer who fell onto iron spikes. Dodge and Mandor manage the water extraction when one of the pumps suddenly stops working due to clogging. They rock paper scissors it and Mandor draw dives to fix the pump. As Epps investigates Greer's body, Katie approaches her and touches her on her shoulder wanting to show her exactly what happened that fateful night. Epps is taken back to the night upon which people appear to be dressed elegantly with Francesca singing and everyone dancing. Meanwhile, in the kitchen the chefs are pouring poison into the food. Epps then see the rope snap cutting the dancers in half and amidst all that, Katie runs screaming while some of the crew kill the remaining other while two men grab Katie and drag her into cabin. It's revealed that they did all that for the gold and that the crew betrayed the first mate and killed everyone involved in the murders. Francesca arrives seductively and kills the first mate to keep the gold for herself and suddenly, a man appears and kills her too. The man brands Francesca with a mark and Epps realize it's Jack. Epps then snaps back and rushes to Murphy but it's too late as the tank they locked him into had filled with water. Epps finds Dodge and tells her that Murphy is dead and that they were not brought back there by accident, they were actually brought there to repair the ship. Suddenly Jack enters with news of Murphy's death. Epps asks the two to watch each other while she finds Mandor and check the repair so she hands Dodge a gun and leaves. Meanwhile, Mandor finally finds the cause of the damage but is caught in the gears and as Epps arrives, he sees blood in the pipes so she realizes Mandor is dead. Jack tries to escape Dodge who insists on going after Epps, but Dodge decides to shoot him and leave the brig. However, Jack comes back to life. Dodge goes to Epps and tells her he had shot Jack and tells her they should just grab the gold and leave. Epps doesn't care and is suspicious of Dodge's sudden behavioral changes and to confirm his suspicions, he changes his disguise to reveal himself as Jack. He reveals that he's a soul hunter and out of all the captured souls, Katie is the hardest to control as innocent souls are difficult to keep in check. He says he has a quota for captured souls and if he loses the ship, his superiors will tear it out of his ass. Jack offers Epps a deal, her life for the ship, but she refuses and Jack knocks her out knocking the detonator off of her hand. They fight and she finally grabs a gun and tries to shoot her but remembers that might be futile, so she aims for the detonator instead and boom goes the ship along with Jack. Epps struggles to escape the ship when Katie appears and shows her the way out. She finally gets out of the ship and sees the souls rise up in the sky. A few weeks later, Epps is found by another ship and is rescued and taken to shore. As she lay in the ambulance, she's horrified to see familiar crates being loaded into the ship by men who look exactly like her dead friends and behind them is Jack. She screams no while the ambulance doors close. Hit that subscribe button for more recaps. A small gesture for you, most meaningful to